So there's a few things I really wanted to, a few trades, right? So obviously from market open, I was talking about the longs, right? I wanted the longs all the way from the beginning. All the way from the beginning, I wanted the longs. But I never executed a trade because I never saw my entry model that I wanted to take. So I stayed out of the market, and then we end up pumping like crazy, right? So I know for a lot of people that would lead to some FOMO. And even when I do feel that FOMO coming on myself, I'm pretty solid at fighting against that and allowing that emotion, allowing myself to feel that emotion, and then just letting it pass, right? So I didn't get FOMO today. I think all the trades I took today were pretty solid setups. Just didn't see the follow through that I wanted to see. All right, so we ended up, where was the long that I ended up calling out? It was, I don't even remember exactly where it was. I ended up calling out a long. I forget exactly where it was, but it ended up hitting, a pretty big trade. And I cut my trade because I didn't like the price action I was seeing because it was super choppy. And then it ended up going to TP and ended up being a really solid trade, right? So for a lot of people, that can be super frustrating. I'll admit, yeah, it was a little bit frustrating for myself because I really wanted that trade. I really liked the longs. But ultimately, I made the conscious decision to cut that trade. So that's what I had to live with. So that's fine. That is what it is. I move on. Ultimately, ended up being a pretty small loss, right? So then I move on and I start looking for shorts because we had our London close reversal. So I was looking for us to come down. Back to the discount of the range, which we never ended up doing. So when I took my short, I think my initial short was right here. Right here was my initial short, right? I got in here. I ended up catching like 120 ticks, and I didn't sell for profit because I was trying to hold for a little bit longer. And that ended up biting me, right? Ended up messing me up. So I ended up taking a loss. I ended up cutting my trade when I could have taken profit at 120 ticks and gotten a 1 to 2 risk to reward and been happy, even if I got stopped at a break even after taking profit. So that happened. I was like, well, that's a bummer. Still a good trade setup, though. I still like the shorts. Ended up, catching it at the perfect time, but still took the loss on that one. So then I looked for another short because I saw another great short opportunity. We had bounced off a 5-minute SIBI. We still had sell side down here. So I took the short right here. Ended up not getting any follow through. Ended up getting stopped out. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not trading my main account anymore. I'm moving on to some prop firm accounts. I'm not going to trade these accounts anymore. Or I'm not going to trade my main account anymore. But ultimately, we did see it come down to my TP level. So that was 3 different trades that I took today where I had the right, or basically the right analysis, and maybe not so much on the third one, but we still did see the short step in, and none of them ended up playing out the way I wanted to. Either I cut it too early or ended up getting stopped out because it didn't fall through or I didn't take TP. So I know for a lot of people and for me in the past, this would be a detrimental day. What I would have done in the past is I would have gone and moved on to, continuing to take trade after trade after trade out of FOMO and out of anger, trying to make my losses back. And then I would have probably ended up, either blowing an account or two or just being way in the red. So instead of that, what I've taught myself to do is just to move on and realize it's a part of the game, right? So even though it can be extremely frustrating on a day like today, when you read the market almost perfectly and you lost, you have to just move on. You have to be happy that you had your analysis correct, right? So that's what I do. I know I had my analysis correct. I know maybe this one wasn't the best trade. We didn't see the follow through, but that's the mindset you have to really have. You have to have that mindset if you want to see any consistency in trading. So now what I do is I say I think about all of my emotions from those trades and I either write them down or I work through them mentally. And then I say, okay, now this is completely in the past. I'm on to the next trading session. So that's where I'm at right now. All of that is in the past now, and now I'm on to the next session. Although I'm not trading my main account anymore, I'm going to trade some prop firm accounts. That's fine, right? Now I'm just going to clear my head, move on, and see if we can find a nice setup here in this session. So that's what I will start off with, just kind of a recap of the trades I was looking to take and the trades I did take. And now we move on. So Yeah, exactly, man. Tomorrow we're back at it again. Even right now we're back at it again. So let's talk about what's going on in the market. We obviously have our FOMC minutes happening right now. 10 minutes ago is when it started, right? Not a ton of volatility. We had some volatility before the FOMC minutes that came down and finally wicked below. Pretty nasty wick right there, but no displacement. So now I'm expecting some continuation up to buy side here. I want to see the long step back in. We're just gonna have to wait and see if we actually get some real price action or if we're gonna continue to chop like we did here. What I would like to see is a nice power of 3 move here, where we had our accumulation, we manipulated down, we grabbed sell side, and now I want to see distribution to where we're coming up to these highs, we're seeing displacement of these highs, and we're going to continue up to buy side because we do still have buy side liquidity to be taken, right? We've got high of day up here, and also, we have more highs up above. I don't know if we'll reach that today, but we're still very bullish biased on the day, right? Overall, even though I did look for some shorts, those were really just scalps that I was looking to take back down to a discount because of that London close reversal. Ultimately, I still am very bullish biased here. Very bullish bias. So what am I looking for at this point? Now I'm starting to look for inversion. I want to see us come up and inverse this 5-minute SIBI right here. Right? If we can do that, then I want to see us start pushing through our 5-minute up here. I want to see us get strong displacement of our highs up here. And I want to start seeing some 1-minute structure as well. So that's kind of what I'm looking for right now. If the market is just going to kind of chop around, not give us any good price action, then we'll just stay out of the market and we'll call it a day and we'll wait for tomorrow or we'll wait for tonight during Asia session. But if price action starts, getting a little bit better, we will look for our trades. We'll look for at least one trade here. All right, so I know some of you might be discouraged today. Some of you might be feeling down because you've taken some losses. Remember, it's just a part of the game. Just like John was just talking about in his session, which I recommend. If you guys don't tune into John's sessions, I think you really should, because he was providing some great knowledge talking about these exact situations, right? Where if you don't focus on your risk management and you have a day like this, your account will be gone. But if you focus on your risk management, then it's not really an issue because you'll take your loss and you'll just move on to the next day. It's all the long game. It's all about the long game here. So let's see what happens. We're just kind of ranging here, kind of chopping around, just inverse to 1-minute busy. Yeah, I ended up hitting my daily loss limit today on that last trade. I was just letting it run, or I didn't fully hit my daily loss limit. It's like pretty close to my daily loss limit. I would have fully hit it if I got stopped out completely at my stop loss. I set up my stop loss to where if I got stopped out there, I would have hit my full daily loss limit. But I ended up cutting the trade a little bit early. So I didn't fully hit it, but I am pretty close to it. I'm pretty close to my daily loss limit. So at that point, I'm just like, I'm moving on, right? There's no reason for me to keep on trading the account. No reason. I'll move on to tomorrow or even tonight if we have a good trade setup. Yeah, FOMC meeting is in progress right now, right? So the market's kind of just chopping around. It seems like people are kind of waiting. Seems like the market is waiting around to kind of see what happens. Obviously, it's red folder, so we know there might be some volatility stepping in pretty soon within like the next 20, 30 minutes. So we'll just kind of have to wait around and see. Because right now, this isn't price action I want to trade yet. I want to wait for us to really start expanding, really start creating some 1-minute fair value gaps. Things like that. All right, so if we can close above this 5-minute, that would be our first inversion that we want to see. And then obviously we have this big 5-minute SIBI up above. So that might be hard because we've tested it like 10 times, all these times, and we've bounced every single time, which was one of my confluences, right, for taking the short I did. That was one of my confluences, right? So after testing it so many times, I want to see us start to break through it. I want to see us start to break through it because we have such a bullish bias today, because we have so much bullish price action today. I do eventually want to see us break through this level to where we can look for a long up to high of day and then maybe a little bit higher. I don't know exactly when the meeting is over, Mike. It's a good question. I'm sure someone's keeping tabs on it. I don't know exactly how long it's going to go for. Peep the 45 minutes. Yeah, look at that bounce off the 45-minute busy there. Just closed on it too. Very nice bounce. 30-minute, same thing. Very nice bounce. 15-minute, same thing. Great bounce off the 15-minute here. So long wicks where we would expect some continuation up to buy side now. Right? We want to see us really start running up to buy side. But so far, price action is not worth trading here. So we're really going to have to just wait. Really going to have to stay patient. So how are you guys feeling? Are you guys feeling discouraged? Are you feeling okay? Did we stick to our risk management plan? Did we take bad trades? Did we over leverage? These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves. You got to be asking yourself every single day. You got to be thinking about your emotions. Up 34 bucks, stuck to your plan, so it's okay. Took good trades, just got chopped. All right, that's great. Those are great mindsets to have. Need risk management the most. Well, that's why we're working on it in the mentorship, Honest Money. Trust me, you will start to get better. Locking in. Yes, sir. Lee, you're down today. Down today, that's all right. Lee, did you still stick to your risk management plan even if you are down? Took 2 L's, one with 1 W, saw him break even. Nice. See, that's what it's about right there. Right? Even with 2 losses, your 1 win got you back to break even. That's what's important. Feel a little hard-headed? Trust me, I've been there. I've been there. It's just time, right? It's just time. It'll take time. Oversized. All right, man. Well, you know, it happens. You oversize. What can you do now is you can only learn from it. You can only journal it down and move on. Close to a full lineup of XFAs, though. Just need 200 tomorrow for my 5th. Nice, dude. There we go. Up 189 from the morning. Patient. Awesome stuff, Aaron. Yeah, exactly. You have to learn from it, right? You can't keep making the same mistakes and not doing anything about it. You got to do something about it. It's in your control. At this point, it's in your control. You have to do something. All right, stop making excuses for yourself. Stop telling yourself that you're going to get better next week or next month. Tell yourself you're going to get better today. And if you keep telling yourself that, subconsciously, your brain is going to start believing you. You're going to start believing yourself if you continue to tell yourself that. And it's not even a conscious thing. It's more subconscious. Exactly, right? This trading thing, it's us versus ourselves. It's us versus ourselves, truly. And that's what makes it so hard. You don't have someone to pick you up, right? If you mess up, it's pretty rare for someone to be there to tell you to fix your problem. I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best to help you. But at the end of the day, it's really up to you. Because I can only take you so far. At some point you're going to have to do it yourself. I can give you the call outs, I can give you the trades, I can give you the education. I can do everything that I can do, and I do it every single day for a reason, because I want you guys to improve and I want you guys to be successful. But it gets to that point where it truly is just up to you. Who do I have? Man, first of all, I have God. That's the number one. I got God on my side no matter what. Win or lose. In the sunshine, in the rain. Second of all, I got a great support system around me. right? Something that I've really emphasized in my life, to have a really good support system, of people that I can go to when I have my issues. Some of those people being like John, being like Braden, right? Those are guys that I can go to as a support system. Hitting them up. Hey, I'm struggling mentally right now, and just talking about it. You got to have some people for sure. And that's, for you guys, if you don't have that person, that's why I'm here. That's why John's here. That's why Braden's here. If you don't have that support system, reach out to us and we're here for you. You got to have some kind of support system. Someone you can go to. I think that's very important. Dude, are you down? I'm down to go on a journey to Middle Earth. I'd take a journey to Middle Earth right now. A little Hobbit adventure. Hop on a horse. I'm currently in the process of trying to plan a little backpack trip in South America and Central America. What countries do you guys think I should go to? For Central South America, what do you guys think are the countries that I shouldn't miss? North Korea? No, that's on the list already. Of course, I'll be in North Korea. Peru, that's on my list. Nicaragua is on my list as well. Ecuador's not. I'll have to look into Ecuador. But Peru is on the top of my list. Portugal is when I go to Europe, I will definitely be going to Portugal. Costa Rica is on the list as well. I think Patagonia is in Argentina, right? Argentina. Ecuador is the most diverse country in South America. I did not know that. All right. Well, I'm adding that one to the list then. Yeah, Peru is... Oscar, you're from Peru? Man, it looks so beautiful. I know John's been to Peru before. John's been to Peru. He said he absolutely loved it. And guys, again, just, I'm going to... Even if when I get off topic a little bit... I'm still looking at the charts consistently. I still have my eyes on the charts. And trust me, when something happens, I will tell you. If I'm actually looking for a setup, once price action gets better, you will know. So even if I get off topic a little bit, don't worry. I'm still staring at the charts. You need to go to Cuenca, Ecuador. All right. I'm going to write that down right now. Cuenca. My plan is actually to fly into Colombia and start my journey there. I've been to a few places. I've been to Cuba a good amount of times. Been to Mexico a lot of times. Been to Colombia once. Canada. Been to Alaska, Hawaii. A lot of the U.S. states. That's kind of where I've gone to so far. All right, we're starting to pump a little bit here. Remember, we're waiting for inversion of this 5-minute SIBI. I'm really waiting for us to inverse this 5-minute SIBI before I actually jump in anything. Must visit Buenos Aires. I do want to go to Buenos Aires. I do want to go to Patagonia. India is on the list too. There's just so many countries. Like, I want to do South America, Central America, and then I want to do Europe, and then I want to do Asia. But I'm going to have to make sure, I think I'm going to get the Starlink. I'm probably going to get the Starlink so that I can trade from wherever I'm at. Get up in the morning, run our trading session, and then go out and adventure. I think, yeah, Starlink looks to be very legit. Those profits got to go somewhere. True. Honestly, guys, like, I think, who said it? Who just said it? Like, we're not promised tomorrow. We are not promised tomorrow, man. Make the most of today. And that's what I try to do. And one of my goals in life is to visit as many countries as I can And, you know, I'm going to do that. If I have the ability to do that, I'm going to do it. All right, we just inversed the 5 minute. Nice. All right, so these longs might start stepping in here. Inversion of the 5 minute. Now we have a 1 minute busy below, and we're forming another 1 minute busy. So this is when I start looking for some longs here. This is when I start looking for longs. Right? It looks like they might run away again from us. That's okay. I'll wait for the next entry. We just tapped back into the 5 minute. But these longs are about to step in pretty hard, it seems like. We're going to have to see if we do actually run through these highs and we actually start running through this 5 minute SIBI. Because every time we have traded into the 5 minute SIBI, we've gotten a bounce so far. But I was saying before, I really want us to start running through that now. I want us to really run through that SIBI. And it looks like we're going to. Looks like we're starting to, at least. Let's look over here at ES. So we got this 5 minute up here above, a little bit higher. We're just tapping into the 5 minute over there on ES. A little bit of SMT divergence. But again, I want these longs to really start stepping in. So the second we either get displacement of this high, you know, I want to see that displacement and I want to see us trade into a fair value gap. That's my entry. It's silver bullet hour. We're looking for fair value gap entries. That's our entry model right now. So I'm looking for an entry here. I'm looking to catch it up to these highs. So what does that mean? I can keep my stop below this fair value gap and still keep over a 1 to 2 risk to reward, depending on where my entry is. I should be able to keep a 1 to 2 if we can trade back into this fair value gap. Egypt is one of the main countries I want to go to too. Obviously, like, yeah, Africa is on the list as well. A lot of countries in Africa I want to go to. Thailand, another one. I've heard great things about Thailand. All right, we just got displacement on the 1 minute, guys. We just got displacement. So now I want to see, even with SMT, SMT has not really stopped us today. We just keep on pumping. So now I want to see us pull back into this 1 minute, and I want to look to target my entry in the longs. All right, and if it doesn't come back, I can't take the entry, no matter what. I'm not going to chase price up here. I'm going to wait for the pullback. Either way. All right, so we are pushing above the equilibrium of that 5 minute, which is good news. We do want this 5 minute to either close above EQ or close above the high. And even if we do miss out on this initial leg, this initial distribution leg of the power of 3 here, we can still have some, we still have profit to be taken up high, right? These longs could keep going all day. These longs truly could keep going all day. Okay, let's look at our other time frames. We have a 2 minute down there. We're forming a 3 minute. We're forming a 4 minute, and we're forming a 5 minute. So we're gonna have some imbalances. We just are gonna have to wait for the pullback. See if it does come back for us. This one's just kind of running away, right? Kind of like this morning. We knew the longs were going to step in, but we just never really got the entry opportunity. So now we just need the entry opportunity. We need price to come back. So honestly, today is one of those days where once you see that inversion, honestly, you might just want to jump into that entry. I still don't love doing that, but today might be one of those days because we're not really coming back. We're not really coming back for our entry levels. Every time this happens, we just keep pumping, and we don't get enough pullback to get a decent entry. So we just took out high of day, right? So that was my target. That's where I wanted to see the longs go to, was high of day. But now I want to see if we're going to get continuation. Obviously, we still have this big SMT divergence up here because high of day over here on ES has not been swept. But it looks like ES is going to target that high of day either way. Yes, looks very bullish here. Okay, so we just took out that level. So when we look back at the charts on the left side, if we kind of zoom out a little bit, we got to look at the 5 minute. There's no liquidity until this high. That's why I really think we're going to reach that high today, or, you know, later today, maybe during Asia. Right now, it looks like we might go reach it today. So there's a strong possibility we still catch a nice long position. Look at this inverse. We just completely inversed the 5 minute. Very strong bullish candle. But the issue was we never came back down into a 1 minute fair value gap. That's why I didn't take it. Okay, we just tapped into a 1 minute here. And now the one issue that we are, running into here is that we don't have buy side liquidity for almost 400 ticks. So price could end up chopping around for a while after getting SMT, at the highs, getting some SMT at the highs and taking out, high of day. But right now we still look pretty bullish. We're getting a pretty strong bounce off that 1 minute. So this is another good entry off that 1 minute. A little bit aggressive, but still a good entry. I'm sure some of you probably jumped into that, right? Silver bullet long. Obviously, we already took out our liquidity, so the silver bullet isn't as much in play anymore as it was before. But we could still see these longs really expand. Yeah, Deep, I understand that feeling, right? I understand that. This market is playing with your emotions. I get that, right? Because, yeah, we saw the longs. We just didn't have our entry, so we didn't jump in. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. We just have to understand that these things are going to happen. No matter what, we can't control that. We can't control price running away without trading back into our level. We can control what we can control. That's our emotions, and that's our entries. That's what we can control. I don't control where the market goes. So when it doesn't go my way, I can't really do anything about it. I'm not going to let that affect me. It is what it is. What does affect me is when I don't control my emotions and I take terrible entries because I let my emotions take over. That's when I, get upset or get frustrated. So as long as you stick to your plan, remember, control what you can control. You should be okay. You will be okay. Even if you did just miss out on a big trade, right? Even if you did just miss out on 100 ticks. Control what you can control. How about entering off the 5 minute inverse retest? So that's a good idea, right? We could look for the inverse, the test. We just retested it just now. So that's not a bad idea. If we do see a bounce from here, I like that idea, right? Because we're bouncing off the inverse. We're bouncing off a 1 minute. So we might be able to catch a good entry, but I still need to see a good rejection here first before that happens. Because I don't want to get in premature and then we do end up, retracing back down to the discount of this 1 minute range. We end up getting stopped out, or there ends up being a reversal because we have SMT at the highs. That's why I don't really rush into a trade like this. I don't really like rushing into our first 1 minute fair value gap when we've already taken out our buy side target. So what would be a good confirmation here would be if we form this 1 minute SIBI and then we get inversion of that 1 minute SIBI. That could be a good target for the longs, right? We wait for us to close above this level. We jump in the longs. Since we don't really have buy side over here, what we can look for is fair value gaps, right? Where are we more likely to bounce from over here? Order blocks, fair value gaps, right? We go to the 5 minute. We have a fair value gap up here. And then I'm just going to extend it to the right. All right, so that's a 5 minute SIBI right there. So we already almost traded into that 5 minute SIBI. We can look at the hourly, right? Hourly order block up here. So this is a very high chance of reversal up here because we did just trade up near this 5 minute SIBI, 1 hour order block. We got SMT divergence at the highs. So we could see a pretty strong reversal here. Okay, another thing we can look at is our dealing range. From here to here, where's our equilibrium? This is our EQ. So let's see what happens once we trade near the EQ. Are we going to end up pumping again off the equilibrium, or are we going to start running through and inversing all of our bullish fair value gaps? Once that happens, we're starting to look for a short. right? So this is what I'm looking at over here for our SMT. This is big SMT divergence up here. That's high of day on ES. SMT, right? NQ already took it. ES is showing weakness. SMT. So what are we looking at now? Look where the equilibrium is. The equilibrium is directly at this 5-minute busy. We have a 5-minute busy right here. So this is going to be a very crucial 5-minute busy. Do we bounce off of it or do we start running through it? If we start running through it, we're looking for shorts down to the lows. If we bounce off of it and we inverse a 1-minute SIBI, we're looking for longs again right back up to new high of day. All right, so we just got to bounce off a 1-minute SIBI. The aggressive entry in the shorts would be here, assuming a reversal. I wouldn't take the shorts right now because we're in such a bullish day overall. I would need to see more confirmation. Since we're right around the EQ of this range, we're bullish overall in the day. This is not necessarily at the time I'd look for the aggressive entry. But as we start to run through these levels, as we start to tap into the 5-minute, this is when I can really start to decide if we're going to see the reversal or if this is just a pullback to rebalance the range to head right back up. Okay, so we just tapped into the 5-minute barely. We're getting a little bit of a bounce off of that level. A little bit of a bounce off that level. We have a few fair value gaps above. A few 1-minute SIBIs. We already reacted off this 1-minute SIBI. All right, we got this one, this one. Now we're really paying attention to this 5-minute right around the EQ. This is pretty much our key level that we have to pay attention to right now. There's a reason I use the equilibrium so often because it acts as such a strong level, whether that's on an order block, a fair value gap, a range. The equilibrium acts as a very strong magnet to price, and if we stay above, right, if we're bullish, we expect bullish price action. If we move below, we're bearish, we expect more bearish price action. So let's say we had already gotten a market structure shift. Let's say we already took out some previous lows. I would be more inclined to take a short already. But since we don't have we don't have any lows, recent lows until down here, I don't have that confirmation to be shorting yet. All right, another reason we still have the 5-minute busy. We have not pushed through that 5-minute busy. So another reason I would not be shorting yet. We're also in the 5-minute inverse. Another reason I would not be shorting yet. You just got to stay patient here. Patience, patience, patience. All right, my first thought from here would be that this looks more like a reversal than anything. But so far today, even when we've had somewhat of a reversal, it didn't even go back to our equilibrium of our daily range. You know, it still kind of came down and ended up coming right back up for the highs. So since we're so bullish today, that's why another reason I'm not really ready to take a short here. All right, now, do these reasons for you guys, do these make sense, right? These things I'm talking about, these things I'm walking through, do they make sense to you or do you have questions? Because if you have questions, please ask me. Ask me if you don't understand something, let me know. I really want you guys to be understanding these concepts. Okay, sweet. Well, that makes me happy, guys. Like, if you guys are really understanding this stuff, these are the concepts that I've found such consistency with. Even on a losing day like today, I still find consistency with these concepts. Either way. Not every day is going to be a winner. All right, so the 5-minute closed. Still respecting, still got to bounce off the very top of that fair value gap. Now we're just waiting to see what happens at these SIBIs. Right? Do we start inversing them? If that's the case, we start looking for longs again. If we stay below, we start inversing this, right? We're looking for shorts. That same concept I've been talking about. What's not a good idea is when you start to see the market chopping, it's not really the best idea to jump into an entry. You know, when you see choppy market conditions, what does that mean? It just means low probability. Low probability price action. And that's why sometimes you guys will see, I won't really get in on a trade because sometimes we'll chop like this, or like down here, we'll chop for a while and then we'll all of a sudden just expand, but not really give us any entry levels. Even if I was expecting the longs, I couldn't have really taken an entry here because it didn't really fit the narrative that I wanted to see, right? It didn't fit the, it didn't come back for my trade model, my entry model. All right, but I'm not going to do is force a long entry here just because I think the longs are coming in, because that's still low probability. Yeah, and I had that same exact habit. That same exact habit where I would think that I could trade 10 trades within a choppy zone and be okay. But what ultimately would happen is I would take 10 trades, take a bunch of losses, and then I would think that my drawdown wouldn't catch up to me, but it would always catch up to me. It would always catch up to me. So then by the point the real trade showed, instead of looking for profit, I was just looking to get back to break even. Or I was just looking to make some of my losses back. And that's the worst feeling when you know you had the right idea. So instead of being in the green, now you're just more in the red, or you're right back to break even right where you started. Right? I used to absolutely hate that feeling because I knew I had the right idea and I couldn't contain myself, and I just kept taking these bad trades. And now instead of, catching a great day, having a great trade, ending the day green, I'm still in the red or I'm right around break even, and I don't really feel like I had a good trading day. I'm sure some of you guys definitely understand that feeling. Because I think it's a pretty typical feeling, and I think it's a pretty typical thing that most traders go through, if not all. All right, so what's something that you can do to stop that habit? What's an actionable step you might be able to take? Is write on a piece of paper right in front of you. Put on a piece of paper, say, I will never trade choppy conditions. Put it on your monitor. Right? I will never trade in choppy conditions. Something that you consciously can see all the time. Something you're always staring at. That's going to be a constant reminder to not make the same mistake. Good question, D. Good question. So, D's question is, how many candles, either on the 1 minute or the 5 minute time frame, do you wait and see to consider it a chop? There's not a specific amount of candles, but you can kind of start to see it happening, right? So, let's say I did get an entry in the shorts here. Let's say, for instance, I took the short. I really wanted to get in the shorts, excuse me. And after I get in, it just starts chopping like this, right? That's when I know, probably after, the first 5 candles here, that this is just choppy, choppy, choppy. I would probably end up just cutting this position because the choppiness is not worth holding onto a trade. So it's not necessarily a number of candles that you're looking for. You can kind of start to tell when you see that price is not making fair value gaps, it's not pushing, it's not dropping, it's just kind of starting to move sideways. That's when you know it's going to be more choppy. So you want to look for fair value gaps, and when you don't see any fair value gaps on the 1 minute time frame, or you don't see them on the 5 minute time frame, that's when you can kind of tell that price is chopping. Right? So look for fair value gaps as your first indicator of, is this price action actually moving, Or is this price action just consolidating? All right, so we're still inside of this 1 minute here. 1 minute SIBI. Hopefully that helps, D. If that doesn't make sense, ask me some more questions. All right, so now we're starting to inverse again. But here's the same issue we ran into before, is we were chopping. We're finally pumping a little bit. But this one could run away from us again and not actually come back and test a good level. Right? So what I want to see is the inversion, but I want to see us actually test a good level. I want to see us actually test a fair value gap. You tracked your performance in the last year of trading. Futures blew multiple evals and down overall 20K. My journey was rushing before proper learning. I know I have learned the strategy, but now it's me versus me. So how do you proceed? Keep on tracking your statistics. Keep on tracking the trading you're taking, the trades you're taking, and then ask yourself every single trade, or come up with some actual plan where I'm only going to take 2 trades this day, and I'm only going to risk this amount. Or John was talking about a little bit before, and this is something I actually talked a little bit about in my mentorship yesterday, but having a personal budget plan, right? Is that amount of loss something you can afford? Is that something you're actually willing to lose? If not, then do something like this. Get your prop firm account, right? Get a 50K prop firm account for, let's just say for an example, right? So let's say on Top Step, you paid $50 for a prop firm account for 50K, and do not buy another account for at least 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks to a month. Try to hold on to that one account. That's going to start teaching you to hold on to your accounts for longer and to be more patient, because even if you do end up blowing that account after 2 weeks, the next time you get an account again, maybe you're going to be able to hold on to that one for 3 weeks, right? Or maybe 4 weeks, or maybe 5 weeks, to where you're finally going to get to that point of your trading where you can actually scale your account, because you're keeping your trades super small. You know that if I lose this account, I can't trade for the rest of the month, or I can't trade for 2 more weeks, right? That's going to keep you from blowing through all your money. That's going to start building discipline of actually taking the correct trades and keeping the right risk management, because now you're not going to want to sit out of the market for 2 weeks. You're not going to want to blow your account after 5 days or after 3 days. It's going to be so frustrating. That's something that I really recommend, and I know John talked about it in his risk management session. I think it's so beneficial to do something like that. I started doing that a while ago. That's something that I actually practiced, because I would do that same thing where I would blow through account after account after account, and I didn't know how to hold on to an account for a long time, because I would just try to either full port it or go super heavy and try to pass it in a few days. Then when I started telling myself that, I would start looking at my bank account and I'd be like, I just blew so much money on these prop firm accounts this month. Like, no wonder I'm still broke. Where I could have just budgeted it and been like, okay, I'm only willing to spend $200 this month. So what does that give me? That gives me a prop firm account, an eval, and that gives me a funded. If I pass that eval, I can then pay for the funded account, and that's my $200. I'm all in for the month. Right? So if you can hold on to that account for at least a month, then at least you stuck to your budget. You didn't over leverage, at least your own income. And that's something that will actually teach you real discipline. That's an actual thing you can start doing right now. You can start doing that today. You can start doing that tomorrow. That can actually teach you discipline. Right? So that's one thing I definitely recommend. And I'm glad John brought that up in his risk management session, because it's so important. And it definitely helped me. Again, guys, so back to the charts a little bit. We came up into the 1 minute SIBI, and now we're coming right back down, even after inversing this 1 minute SIBI. 5 minute long wick there, 15 minute kind of ugly. We do now have a 15 minute busy here down at the equilibrium of this range, just in the discount. So maybe we do drop to that 15 minute busy and then get a bounce from there. We have about 10 minutes left on this hour. So far, this has really been our only real move, and we weren't able to get involved in it. We haven't seen any real other moves yet. According to my plan, according to my strategy, I don't see anything else yet. But one good setup could be, if we trade down to the 15-minute busy, we inverse some 1-minute SIBIs, take the long right back up to high a day. Let's see what you said, X-Racer. That would help with your self-confidence too, because you would be showing yourself you can stick to the budget and make it work. That would make it easier to stick to your trading strategy as the momentum builds. 100%. Completely agree with that. It is huge for self-confidence. Huge. You know how devastating it is. I know everybody knows this feeling. It's the most devastating thing in the world when you look at your bank account and you realize that you just spent way too much money on these prop firm accounts because you were just gambling away. At that point, you might as well go to the casino. You might as well just go throw all your money on red, right? That would be like pretty much the same exact thing. You might even have better odds of winning at the casino, right? But what you do, like X-Racer said, is you start building your confidence, your self-confidence, to understand that, wow, I actually have the ability to hold on to an account for a month. Because before, you didn't have the ability to do that. Before, you blew every single account you had in a week or in 2 weeks. So if you can hold an account for a month, now you're going to have the self-confidence to say, maybe I can actually hold an account for 2 months now. Even if I don't get a payout from this account, even if I don't even pass this account, just knowing that I can hold on to an account is the first step. Because then the next step after that is eventually you're going to start building your confidence and building that momentum, like X-Racer said. Eventually you're going to get to pass that account. And eventually you might get to that payout level, right? And it might take you 2 months of having your account to get a payout. Wouldn't you rather do that and wait 2 months to get a payout than waste, $500, $1,000 in that same exact 2 month time frame and be exactly where you were before and 2 months before? I don't know. That's the way I see it. I would much rather wait 2 months for a payout and be consistent and just have that delayed gratification, right? Than trying to rush my journey and trying to rush my plan and then end up at square one again after those 2 months. I don't know about you guys, but that's how I see it. That's the way I look at trading, and that's why I think it's it's such a long game. I think it's actually, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Think about where you could be in a year's time. Where could you be in a year's time if you just stayed patient? The difference is if you do the same thing for a year and you keep making these same mistakes over and over, trying to rush the process, you will be pretty much at the same exact point you were right now. Just with a lot less money, right? Or if you actually stuck to a solid plan for the next year, even if you don't get one payout for the next year, imagine where your mentality will be at in 1 year's time. You will be a completely different person. You'll be a completely different trader. And I'm telling you, there's a possibility that your life could change, even if it's not just from trading, but even in your normal everyday life. Just to have a discipline like that. Imagine how disciplined you're going to start being in other aspects of your life. And that's what it's really all about. That's what it's really all about. Don't rush the process. I actually might have some notes from the book I'm reading. I was reading it on my flight back home the other day, and I think I might have a few things about that. It was talking a lot about that, about the same exact idea. Let me look. I'm going to look through it real quick and see if I have some notes. Same thing with the charts right now, guys. We are still pretty choppy, right? Still no trade entries, no trade opportunities right now. Okay, so I'm reading back through this, and I definitely have some notes here. Just give me a second. Hey, ¿qué pasa, Alpha? ¿Cómo estás? Okay, this one's a really cool one. So the first thing that I read, it says, observe how endings become beginnings. Observe how endings become beginnings. That one really hits home for me. Because every time something ends in the way I don't want it to end, it's so devastating. But what this book is talking about is every time there's an ending to one chapter of our life, it's just creating a new beginning. Right? So this could even be a positive thing, whereas, you finally end the cycle of losing, and not being disciplined. And you finally graduate from that cycle of your life to now a new beginning of consistency and discipline. Right? It's just a matter of time of when that's going to happen. I'm going to read through a little bit of some of my other notes to see. Okay, this one's interesting as well. Kind of talks about the same idea. Here. This says you attach to one element of one cycle in life, leading to eternal disaster. Right? What does that mean to me? I get very attached to things very easily. Right? So we might get very attached to one part of our life. And what this book basically tells us is that if we stay attached to one cycle in our life, we're going to be stuck in that cycle forever. We're going to be stuck in that cycle for years. So don't be attached to what you are in right now. Know that this is just one chapter. This is just one cycle of what you're going through in your life right now. This will pass. This will pass. Right? So that one really hit home for me as well. And this right here says, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. If you are in in this part of your life where you just feel like you are not making any progress, you feel like you are just down in the dumps, you're hitting rock bottom, you feel like you cannot, you can't do things right, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. This is just one part of your life. There's going to be plenty of chapters. And that sounds really cliche. I know it does. It sounds extremely cliche. But this is just one small chapter of your life right now. Like, just imagine what's going to be in that next chapter. And I couldn't really see that myself. I was so stuck in the chapter I was in. I was so stuck in the constant losing. The constant, terrible mental health. Not focusing on what I should be focusing on. Down in the dumps. That's all I would focus on. And what happened to me is I can only focus on negative things. So what came out of that? Negativity. Negative things came out of that. Once I started to realize, I started to be at peace. I really did. I'm not lying about this, guys. I'm being 100% with you right now. When I started to find peace in my life was when I finally came to the realization that this too shall pass. No matter what I'm going through, even in the good things, it'll pass. Don't get attached to the good. Don't get attached to the bad. It's just all part of our life. It's all part of our life cycle. So when you're doing really good, don't get attached to it. Just continue to be consistent. Continue to keep consistency in your life. All right, so when you get your payout, when you get your first payout, don't get attached to it. Because how are you going to get to the next one if you're so attached on that last payout you had? All right, if you just passed an account, don't get attached to it. Be happy. Observe it, be happy that you got it, and then just stay consistent on to the next one, on to the next chapter, on to the next account, on to the next payout, right? That's something that I think is so extremely important. Extremely important. This too shall pass. That's kind of something I want to tattoo on me. I kind of want to tattoo, this too shall pass. I'm going to read through a little bit some of my other notes and see if I have anything else written down here. This book, by the way, guys, it's Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. It's by Dr. Wayne W. Dyer. So it's kind of an introduction into Taoism and the Tao lifestyle, which is something that I've never dove into until recently. Right? More of an Eastern way of thinking, which I think is very interesting. I think it's pretty cool to have a perspective of Eastern philosophy mixed with my Western philosophy that I've grown up on my whole life. And I've been finding a lot of wisdom in this book. Okay, here's another note that I have. This says, take time to be an impartial observer of life, particularly when an ending is causing despair. So one of the main ideas I've taken out of this that actually directly relates to my trading is being an impartial observer. You guys hear how I always talk about that we observe the market? We are observers of the stock market. We're observers of NQ. Impartially observe, and when it's time to act on something, you act on it. When it's time to execute, you execute. Don't force yourself on the market. Observe it. It's almost, this sounds extremely cliche too, but you have to be like basically at one with the market. I know it sounds stupid, but you really do. You have to be so connected to this market that you can look at it for an entire day, and if you don't see your trade setup, you don't take a trade. Because you're observing it. It's all about observation. And this talks about when an ending is causing despair, right? So this might not directly correlate to trading, but I know it correlates to my life. When I see, a chapter in my life that's coming to an end, that I really loved this chapter of my life, it does cause some despair. I don't want to let it go, right? I'm attached to it. I'm so attached to it. And then I have to come back to it and realize this is all part of it. This is how it should be. My plan has already been laid out for me. Now I just have to follow it. I cannot force things to happen too soon because that's not a part of the plan. If I control what I can control, if I can put in the hard work every day, eventually, whenever that plan is supposed to happen, it will happen. Whatever that plan may be. Right? So, a little bit of a tangent there, but man, those few chapters really hit home for me while I was reading that on the flight back home. Really, really impacted me. Just this way of thinking of so different than what we're used to. What we're used to, at least for my friends that are, have grown up in Western civilization, we're told, at least in the U.S., we're told that we need to take complete control of our destiny. We need to go out and force things. We need to go out and be successful right now. I agree, we do need to take control. But ultimately, your destiny, I think there's already a plan laid out for you. Don't force it. Do not force it. Go with it. Put in the work you need to put in, and in due time, you are going to see the results. You are going to be able to reap the benefits, right? And for trading, it's almost impossible because we want to get the payout right now. We want to get the payout tomorrow. We want to get the payout next week. What usually happens is we don't get the payout because we're so focused on it, because we're forcing it. So going back to what I said earlier, and I'll probably leave you guys with this because our market is no bueno, not worth taking a trade. But as I talked about before, think right now, try to put yourself in a place in a year's time. Think of yourself in a year. If you can look back on this next year coming up, what do you want to see yourself having accomplished, or what kind of person do you want yourself to be in a year's time? Where do you want your trading to be at in a year's time? And I really challenge you guys to think about that. If you're telling yourself right now, I want to be consistent, I want to be profitable, start taking the necessary steps to get there in a year. Start doing it today. Stop waiting. Stick to your plan every single day. Don't try to get your payout too soon. Don't try to pass your account too soon. Relax. You have the formula, right? The formula is here. That's what I'm teaching you. I'm teaching you the formula right now. Every single day, I'm showing you the strategy. I'm showing you that I have found success with the strategy. I'm showing you how I do it so that maybe you can do it too. Right? So the formula is there. Now what's the next step? It's sticking to it. Sticking to it every day. That's the next step. So in a year's time, man, you are going to be a completely different trader than you were today, than you were a year ago. You are going to be so consistent, you're going to be so disciplined that you're basically going to be stealing money from the market. It's going to be so easy for you. You're going to hop on the charts in the morning, you're going to take one or two trades, and then you're going to go out and enjoy your day. Right? It's going to start coming so easy, but don't rush it. Please do not rush it. Yeah, see Breezy, what's up? Deep, I have not heard of Rashinish Osho. I don't think so. Philosopher? Is that a philosopher? Interesting. I might have to look into that. Hey, Mark. How you doing, man? Are you safe? I know you're down in Florida. Did you get to safety? Um, I never mentioned moving averages. Any reason why? That's just not something that implement in my trading. I used to look at some of the moving averages when I was trading options, but I found that just sticking with VWAP, that's kind of the only indicator I really need when it comes to those types of indicators. It's just not something that I feel I need in my trading, and that's really the only reason. All right, that's good, Mark. Glad to hear you're safe, man. Glad to hear you're safe. All right, guys, we're actually starting to pump a little bit, so maybe we might have a trade opportunity here. Maybe I spoke too soon. We did tap into the 15-minute right around the EQ. Right around the EQ, we did tap into it. We still have this one up here, though. Still have this 1 minute Sibi up here. We're going to have to push through that. How did your turning point look like after being in that boom burst phase you mentioned? Yeah, man, I actually talked about this. I talked about this with my mentorship a little bit. And it's more personal, but I was going through a phase of my life, and this was kind of the start of my trading career. A little bit around the start. I'd already kind of started trading, but this was around 2021 when I was really starting to dive into it more and more. I had already had an idea of what trading looked like from 2020. I started studying, around the start of 2021. But there is this point where I was so sick of the life that I was living, and I wanted to break the cycle of my family. Right? So, from my childhood, grew up very, very low income with, a lot of times where we're on food boxes where we're only getting fed because we have families that supported us and would bring us dinner. And just growing up around financial stress. Wow, look at that drop. Yeah, I'll probably stay out of this market, guys. But just growing up around financial stress my entire life, that's all I ever knew. And at this point in 2021, I was so sick of it. I wanted to make a change, and I had tried to start a business in 2020. I ended up getting really screwed over from some external factors that I couldn't control, and I had to shut that business down. I was kind of depressed about it. I was not in a great mental state. And what I had to do, I told the story of the mentorship the other day, but I was actually volunteering at this food bank where they would give out food every weekend or every day to people in need. And I actually thought, I was so broke at the time, that I actually thought that I might need to come back tomorrow and drive through to get food. I thought that I might need to come back tomorrow and come pick up some food because I couldn't really afford groceries because I was so broke. I had a job, I was working, but I was in school trying to pay for school. Things weren't going good. And that was kind of the turning point. I was standing there with my girlfriend and I was like, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this to be my life. I want to do something about it. So that's when I really dove into trading. That's when I was like, you know what? I think I can make this work. But then for the next few years, it was just loss, fighting through some bad habits, learning a lot, but not finding consistency in my trading for a long time. Until finally I just stayed, I wasn't the most patient person. I ended up losing a lot of money. I wish I didn't, but it was all part of my journey, so I wouldn't change anything. But it got to the point where I finally had built up so much discipline and realized that I wanted it so bad that nothing else was going to stop me. That I'm not going to let anything stop me. I'm going to make this work because I saw other people making it work. I knew it was a possibility, and I knew that I had the skill set to do it because I had been learning for a long time. So I finally got to that point where I started to see a little bit of success, right? I started to see a lot more consistency in my trading. I stayed way more disciplined. And from that point on, obviously there's going to be months or weeks or certain days where sometimes I struggle, right? At this point, it's pretty rare for me to struggle when it comes to my, my trading and going on tilt or anything like that. But there was times throughout that period of of 2023, of the end of 2022 and 2023, where I still would struggle and I would still have those blow up days, but I was still finding consistency and I was still finding, some real progress. So at that point, it was just all about doing the same thing every single day, no matter what. And even with having those blow up days every once in a while, I started to find a consistency like I never had before because I stuck to the plan for so long. I stuck to it, right? I continued. Every time I got knocked down, I'd get back up. Every time I got knocked, punched in the face, I got right back up, punched back harder. And that's kind of what, that was kind of the turning point in my life, was that one day that I will always remember, being in that food bank. But even after that, I still didn't find consistency. It wasn't until I finally realized that if I can just stay patient, one day I might find success. And once I found that patience, I started to find a lot more success. So that's kind of my story. That's kind of what I went through. And just the motivation, the motivation dies out sometimes. The motivation will always go away at certain points. And that's when the discipline has to step in, right? If you lose motivation, you have to have discipline, because the motivation will leave. There's going to be days where you absolutely want to quit. But if you've built the discipline and you stick to the process, you're not going to quit. You're going to keep going. You're going to keep it going. Right? So, yeah, that's kind of my story a little bit. I've got a lot of stuff, a lot of more story in my life that, throughout the months in this community, I will definitely share with you guys. But that's just kind of a little bit of the tip of the iceberg of my story. Aaron, of course, man. How can you get the live stream every day membership? Yeah, so if you send me a message, I will respond to it right after this session. I'll get back to you right after this. Dang, King Plot. Man, I'm sorry to hear about that. I've been there, man. Not saying that I stole, but I've been that, at that point where it seemed like it was almost the only decision I could make. It's tough, man. It's tough. It really is. Yeah, guys, of course, man. I appreciate your questions. Really love this session. Really, really love this session. Great talking with you guys. Again, price action is not worth trading this afternoon. It's pretty whack right now. So I would recommend just kind of staying away from it for the rest of the day, unless you see something really good. But I think I'll probably wait until Asia session or till tomorrow to take any more trades. 100%, man. Hard times make strong men. I agree. That's why I think character is everything. That's why I think your character is the most important thing. You got to have a strong character. And what builds that character? Going through tribulations, going through those hard times. Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys a lot. Really do. Will I ever go live during Asia session? Yeah, that's something I definitely think about. I've gone live like once or twice during Asia session. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I will not be going live tonight because the Padres play again. So if there's ever a Padres game, you will not see me going live. But yeah, no, in the future for sure. Sometimes it's hard for me because my voice is so gone by the end of the day, because I talk so much. Like if you guys can hear my voice right now, it's pretty much gone right now. So I kind of have to rest my voice. And that's why usually we'll just do call outs instead of running a session. But for sure, in the future, especially when I do have, some more traders on the team, I'll have more free time to be able to do that. To be able to run more sessions, at different times. So I think that would be pretty cool as well. Dude, I'm thinking about next week. If the Padres do end up winning the series, I think I might fly to San Diego and go to a game. I still have never been to a playoff game in my life, and I've been a diehard Padres fan since I was born. So I think if they win tonight, I might fly back to San Diego to see a game. Man, it's been a good series so far. Just seeing everything in San Diego, dude, that city is going crazy right now. That's my home. That's my home. Yeah, not for Dodgers fans. I don't know if you guys saw my Instagram post last night, but I said this morning is going to be a tough training session for Dodgers fans. King Plot, I thought I gave you a free week. Why does it still say you're not on VIP? Betting on the Padres, that's a good idea. All right, guys. Well, really appreciate you so much. God bless you. Take care of yourselves today. Remember, do not let the loss affect you if you did end red. Just move on. Tomorrow's a new day. All right, we move on. So you guys stay safe. I will talk to you all either tonight or tomorrow morning. Later, guys. Peace out.